Hi, everyone, and welcome to our podcast, Special Needs on the Table, with your host, Alyssa Apostolopolous.
And me, Yomi, Karade. Welcome to this. It's going to be a great show. We have a wonderful guest today. Her name is Beatrice Tokayer, she is an interior designer who has a special focus on sensory rooms for your home. Welcome, Beatrice, to our show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We're so happy. We're so happy to have you. And we would love for you to just tell us about how you started your journey and your pathway to become an interior designer.
The way I became an interior designer was really when I had, when I first got married, I had a condo and I decorated it myself. And somebody came over and said, "Who's your designer?" And I said, "I did it." And then they said, "You should do it." So I slowly took courses and, I just fell in love with it. So that's how I became a designer. And the way that I became a sensory interior designer was simply because I noticed my middle son was born early. He was born at 36 weeks. And when he was born, from the minute he was born, I saw that he wasn't hitting his milestones and there were issues all along. And one day he has sensory processing disorder and he's pre-dyslexic and he's got, he had all sorts of delays. And I saw his room and I saw, that there was no, he was taking, OT and PT and all these services. And one day I looked at his room in a different way. And I asked his OT, "Can colors trigger a child?" And she said, "Absolutely." And that's when I started to really get into it and research sensory processing disorder and research colors and textures and patterns and lighting and furniture. And that became so meaningful because I revamped his room and I also created an active space for him in my basement. And it made a huge difference. And I said, I have to help other kids because this is design, but this is more than just design. This helps children. So this is an ongoing thing and I love it.
Wonderful. I love the fact that you were able to see that there was a market for this and also to, because your own son, see that. I mean, my same thing, I have some issues with my son. There's certain colors that I just know that cannot be in his room. Certain lighting can't be in his room. So let's talk about your BRT interior design. What are the goals and what types of services do you provide?
So the goal is to help children and families of children with special needs such as ADHD, sensory processing disorder, ASD, any special needs, to feel comfortable in their space and feel regulated and allow the family to, create a positive bond and interaction in the home. Because if your child is dysregulated and not feeling comfortable, that can make them anxious or, act out. And that really puts a strain on the family. So it's just promoting positivity and positive connection in the family. And the services that I provide are, a full service design, which is, per room or, little different, different tidbits in different rooms. But basically I customize it to the family and what they need. So it's very specific.
I love that. And I like how you connected with your sons. You said occupational therapist, right?
Yeah.
Some ideas and strategies. So can you tell us a little bit more about what a sensory room is and how you determine what products or designs should go into each room?
So, I often get parents who call me and they say, my child needs a space where they can just run around and get their energy out. So I say, okay. So then they say, well, I want to redo my basement and create like a gym for them. And then after speaking to the parent, then I find out that the child is actually, a very bad sleeper. They don't want to be in their room. There are certain items that they're not comfortable having in the room, or that clutter bothers them. So asking certain questions like, does your child get anxious with too many things around? Or does the lighting bother your child? So those things allow me to create a sensory room specific to the child. So if the child is too anxious, with clutter, then I would style it so that there isn't a lot in the room, or it's hidden properly so that the child can't see it so much. If the child is very sensitive to colors, I'll pick light colors, so that's how I target it.
Wow. What I love about this is that you have your own son. Now you've got like your own company, the BRT Design, and now it's actually given them this opportunity to parents. I mean, they must feel that, because it's like a holistic approach, because you see people, you have OT, you have PT, you have speech, and it's all very separated, and now you're coming into the home to now give the environmental feeling now. So now before the child's even got up for the day, now they can actually feel more regulated. I like this. This is wonderful. This is really, really good. This is good. I like it. It's like this whole behavior, the whole thing where you're dealing with behaviorism, it takes in the full picture. That's the true behaviorism.
Right.
That should be out there.
And,
all right.
And it all starts in the home anyway. Absolutely. But I just want to clarify that this doesn't replace therapy. This doesn't replace medication. This is a piece of the puzzle.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. It's the whole holistic approach, which, this is the part that, sometimes people might miss. They may miss that their house is cluttered or the room's cluttered for the child. There's too many toys going on. It's too much sensory input. There's too much going on. But now they can actually be with somebody like you who actually opens it out to a bigger picture. Beautiful. Beautiful. I'm going to take this on to Alyssa.
Yeah. So when you meet with your clients, do you just meet with the parents? Do you meet with the children as well, or the child who has special needs? Do you meet with their therapist? What's your strategy to find out, okay, this is what this child specifically needs and will benefit from?
I typically don't meet with the children. I just meet with the parents. Sometimes I meet with the therapist, like with the OT. But typically I meet with the parents because the parents are the ones at home. They describe their experience, what they see from their child. And that's the best explanation I can get. Because the parents are the ones dealing with their children. So just, asking the right questions help me figure it out. And I'm very intuitive when it comes to that stuff because I have my own experience. And I have 2 children with ADHD. And, the older one has a form of sensory processing disorder as well, where he's actually very understimulated. So I see a lot. And unfortunately, I actually use my children, to test different things. I create like different corners for them, which is like fun. But, my husband's like, what are you designing now? I've seen so many children that I can figure out what the child needs based on the questions that I ask the parents.
It's fantastic. It's a great strategy. And I love how you use your children too, to help you navigate it a little bit.
Yeah.
Wonderful, it really is. So, so if you, just looking at some of your designs that you have done, what are which ones would you say are your favorite designs?
So I love biophilic design, which is really bringing nature in. It doesn't necessarily mean bringing plants in, but bringing the colors of nature, like green. And my favorite room is a child's bedroom that I painted in mint green, and I added tree decals. The whole room is just calm. That's my favorite type of, that was my favorite room that I designed.
Wow.
That's
Wow.
great.
But
And
there's method to my madness, you know. For example, like in a sensory gym that I created, I put padding on the wall where I put monkey bars like hanging from the ceiling, and I put soft padding on the wall because when the kids would push off with their feet would feel like the soft padding. So there's method to my madness, even though you might not think of it. Like there's a reason why I put everything there.
You know, I like that because you can't teach this. You know, you can't. This is not textbook stuff. You, like you say, it's your intuition. You've got to feel this thing. You have to feel it and just know. You know, it's something which is, you just can't learn this stuff. You know,
Yeah,
and this community is it's different. You have to feel. You have to feel it. If you can't feel it, it'll be textbook.
I just feel like moms of kids with special needs, we get each other. And if you don't have a child with special needs, you just don't get it, because it's not your fault. You just haven't been put in that situation. It's not your fault, you know, but we just get each other. It's just like a different level of understanding.
Mm-hmm. I appreciate that. That's wonderful. Thank you. Appreciate it a lot.
And the sensory gyms, I mean, they sound so interesting because I'm sure you use a bunch of different types of equipment. So you just said you've had monkey bars and padding. What other kinds of equipment have you put into rooms? Like, are there swings? Are there rock climbing kinds of walls? What are some things people could see if they wanted to put something like this in their home?
So sometimes there are rock climbing walls, sometimes there aren't. Like sometimes they might not be appropriate for a certain child. Sometimes, you know, I put a compression swing. Sometimes I put like the pod swing. It just depends. Sometimes like I put a trampoline. Sometimes I often like to create stations in the basement because kids just have a very short attention span. And if you present them with a large room and you say go, they're going to go from one thing to the next and just be tired. But if you create different stations, like this is your active area, and here's like your music station, and here's your arts and crafts station, and here's your reading nook, then they're able to go from one thing to the next and not really feel like they're overwhelmed with so much because everything is categorized.
100% agree. It's wonderful.
Do you think that all children can benefit from this?
Absolutely. And I have actually a lot of clients who call me and they say, my child doesn't have any special needs, but I think it would be great, to organize the basement or their room in such a way. And I think so many kids need that, especially, little kids, they all have sensory needs and they often outgrow it. It's like a normal, stage of life. And some don't. And I believe in exposing children and making them feel comfortable and satisfying those sensory needs so that they can outgrow it eventually. So I think every child can benefit from this.
Mm-hmm. So I think that's beautiful. I think once that we should note here that you're very inclusive. So it's not like you're just only for special needs. It's like it's a whole across the board. So is that okay for me to say that?
Of course, of course.
All right, great. So you obviously do a remarkable job with everything that you do, and that parents seem to love what you do, and you love what you do as well, which makes it even hit the bar each time. Can you also tell us, is there anything that's challenging? What's the most challenging part of your job, and what's the most rewarding part of your job?
The most rewarding part of my job is when there's a function to whatever I do and hearing that they're using it in that way. For example, I created a built-in, and I created, like, I put like a bench for the built-in so that the child can, get up and get toys themselves. So I wanted to foster independence from the child. And the mom sent me a picture with a child climbing up on their own and doing it. That's satisfying because there's a reason why I put that step there, and they're using it the way that they're meant to. So that's very satisfying. when that happens and when it actually helps the child. A challenging part, I don't know if there is a challenging part yet. I think just managing so many projects at once, because, you know, as designers, we're people pleasers and we want to start every project right now because you want to help everybody. But sometimes you can't. And so that's, I would say that's challenging. But, you know, other than that, not so much, nothing I can think of.
Well, you're definitely doing some incredible work and helping so many families. And we're just wondering, what advice would you give to families who might feel like their house is chaos or their child's room is chaos? You know, what can they do to, you know, start the process?
What can they do to start the process? I think they need to start, the parents need to start with themselves and figure out what I guess I would say they should observe the child and figure out, is their child anxious? Do they mind clutter? Do they feel anxious with too much clutter? Do they, are there clothes everywhere in their room and they don't care and they look for, do they want to get messy? Do they want to lather themselves with yogurt or soap? Like, just notice the patterns of the child so that if they decide to start a project like this, it'll be targeted to the child.
Excellent. Wonderful. And so let's talk about something that's so important. Where can people find you? How can they know more about your services?
So I have my website, brtinteriordesign.com, and I'm also very active on Instagram. My Instagram handle is at BRT Interior Design. And something about Instagram is that I'm very real, I'm very honest. I have tact, but I'm very honest because I want people to know that life is not perfect and life is hard sometimes, and life isn't, you know, not every day is a perfect day. And so sometimes I share, you know, about my kids and tantrums, or sometimes I share ideas that I have that I used with my kids, but mostly I just talk about real life, because you want to be relatable to other parents, and we're all in this together. And I feel like moms of kids with special needs, and whether they don't have special needs, we often hide this from others because we're scared that we're going to be judged, or we're scared of, you know, feeling ashamed. And if there's somebody out there saying, no, I feel like that too, then you feel like it's okay, that what you're going through is normal. So that's, you know, part of my Instagram, you know, on my stories, I'm very real. And in my posts, I, you know, often share designs or, you know, videos of little projects that I do that are very meaningful. For example, the other day I put up a little sensory corner that I created where I actually put I put bins on the wall, on peg rails, and in the bins I put kinetic sand, and I put Play-Doh, and I put you know, markers and crayons, because, you know, I believe that kids who want to play, we know when kids play with kinetic sand, they feel calmer. When they play with Play-Doh, it's calming for them. It feels great. And a lot of us parents feel like we don't want that stuff in the house. It's too messy. It's going to get on the couch. I'm going to have to clean it up. And so you're worried about how you feel, but your child needs it. So why not create a little corner somewhere where it's safe for them to use that, and everybody's happy. So those are the kinds of things that I put up on Instagram.
Yeah, I've seen your Instagram. I love it. I love how you share your stories about your family, about what's going on a day-to-day. And then you show you're actually like doing the work in your videos of, you know, the different designs you're doing. It really is incredible. It is relatable, and it's definitely something that everybody should check out. And we are so grateful that you spend the time with us to tell us about BRT Interior Design and everything that you're doing out there for people who have special needs, but even people who don't and just need that structure, organization, and beautiful design.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you once again, Beatrice. And thank you, everybody. Please check out her Instagram. Say it again, please. Say your Instagram again. Where can they find you?
BRT Interior Design.
Okay, so check her out. Beatrice, this has been great. We love you. You were just, I mean, these are the things. My son's older now, he's like 20, but these are things, you know, in my time, they didn't have anything like this, you know, nothing. We're kind of like clutching at straws and waiting for like studies and things like that, you know. But now we don't have to wait. People on the ground are actually moving now and say, no, we need this for our children. We need that. We don't have to wait for these big studies to come. So I thank you very much for what you're doing. Keep going. Everybody, please, your children need their environment. They need a secure, safe, beautiful environment. This is the lady who's now probably going to be massive. And I'll be like, yes, we interviewed her.
Yep. And it all starts in the home.
It all starts in the home. We thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank
so check
you.
us out on check us out on YouTube. This is Special Needs on the Table. This is Beatrice Tokayer. Tokayer, if I get the name right, just get it right. And you can check us out on Instagram at Special Needs on the Table. You are a star. Thank you so much for coming on our show.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.